Hello Internet. I was recently asked if I would do a walk around tour of the shed in a bit more detail than I've shown in the photographs. So let's have a go at that and see what we can do. If I start in this corner, you can probably tell this is where I spend most of my time. I've got my computer there on the floor, which isn't ideal, but it's the best I can do with it at the moment because I've not got that much space on the benches. I've got my computer itself, I've got the selection of pliers and screwdrivers that I use most of the time, and these are the sort of the general use clean tools that I will work on. If I have to do anything messy, I've got other tools that I use so I don't have to worry about bringing a lot of oil into this space. On the right hand side there we have a heated press that I made up for putting inserts into 3D prints. We have a speed controlled drill so that I can grind away at models that I've printed. We have the extractor for when I'm doing a little bit of spraying and things. It's not ideal, but it's the best I've got at the moment, and in combination with the mask it's okay. When it comes to doing the paints, I keep all the paints where I can see them, generally for the airbrush, but I also have a cupboard under there for spray paints and cans of paints and paint removers and strippers and things as well. I've got the thermoforming machine, which is next to the laser cutter. You can see this is all kind of plasticky stuff that I'm working with at the moment here. So I've got the laser cutter with all of the extraction and things. The extraction goes outside through a filter, and then as we come through, we've got an unfinished project, which is the mini mill, which has been sitting there for probably 6 months now, unfortunately, but never mind. I have some storage, which is where I keep all of the nuts and bolts and things. Let's have a look. And all of the electronics. This one's all the switches. I did mean to mark the front of these at some point, but I haven't got round to it yet because I do get lost about which one's where when they get put back. There we go. We've got power couplings and things like that for mains electricity. We've got LEDs and lasers and some other bits of sort of odd capacitors and things like that that don't fit in the standard bins. And we've got all the microcontrollers and microprocessors and that kind of stuff. Then we come to the corner where things start to get a bit messier. This is where I tend to do all the metalworking stuff. You'll notice the floor here is just concrete, whereas I've got some laminate floor over in the other parts. This just makes it a little bit easier to clean up, and I'm not too worried about working with oil and grease and things like that. I can just sweep it up and scrub the floor if I need to. This lathe is a work in progress. It was rusted to bits when I got it, unfortunately. So it does work. It just needs a lot of tramming and maybe even the way scraping, I think, at some point. And there's still a lot of oil, a lot of rust and things that need to be done, and a lot of oiling into various places. You can see I've 3D printed some replacement gears because they were all missing, and you can see that there's quite a lot of rust still on some of the stuff, which is a shame, but we'll get around to it and it'll get there. The pillar drill is a pillar drill, as you can imagine. I'm moving around a lot of tools at the moment because things like this scroll saw, I just don't use it enough for it to be on the bench all the time, and I haven't found a good solution of hiding these out of the way when they're not in use, and it just eats up a lot of bench space. So I'm trying to figure something out for that, but I'm not a fan of the idea of having a flipping work surface because I just lose the space underneath that, but maybe I'll have to come up with some other trolleys. You see, I've got these cupboards that I made up, 2 foot by 2 foot on locking wheels. I would like some more of these, but where would I put them is the question. If we go around to this side of the work surface, move the chair out of the way. There we go. You can see I've got some more tools in the clean area. I've got a very nice set, which was a Christmas treat to myself from iFixit, which is great. And this was a birthday present from Caroline. which is a nice set of draper. We have a 3D printer, 3D scanner that I'm still working on. It's going quite slowly. I need a couple of days of solid just coding on it, and then it'll be fine. It does pretty much everything except 3D scan at the moment, which is unfortunate. But this is the dirty work surface, as you can imagine. If I need this to be a very clean area, well, a cleaner area, I'll run some brown paper down on it, but I don't bother with that all the time. Underneath all of this is just storage cupboards, which are full of junk mostly, and a compressor. There's a compressor in this cupboard, and there's an outlet for the compressor under here when I want to do any spray work at the bench with the airbrush. You might notice there's this area on this bench, which is a removable section. I cut these pieces, and then if I have any tools or anything that I want to move in and out, like bench grinders and things I had on here, they can be screwed to these boards, which have got a little chamfer on the side, and then clipped into this space so that I can use them when I need them, and then remove them. And I also have this with the cutout, which, whoops, let's get this in there. There we go. That slides in there, unlocks down, and then I have some sort of bench dogs and things that I can drop into here, and the intermediate holes are for hold fast that you can knock in. So I've got quite a reasonable length of work surface there for doing messy stuff, and I've got a vise, obviously a big vise. At the moment this isn't easy to earth if I'm using the welder. So on the left here we've got this welding cabinet and sort of more heavy metal stuff, the bench grinder and things. I think what I might do is take the top off of this, grind it so that it's a weldable surface, drop that down into this in a recess, and connect this to that, to the welder, so that I've got a kind of a permanently earthed section that I can work with. Ideally I'd like a TIG welder, but I just haven't saved the pennies yet for that. I've got a walloping post and an anvil shaped object, which does me for most of the things that I need. We've got a few things like mandrels and stuff, and some more kind of smithingy tools down the corner here if I can get to those. Yep, so we've got some kind of smithing pliers and things, which I don't use that often, but when you need them, you need them. We've got a selection of hammers and panel hammers and copper hammers. Angle grinders and other things like that are up on the top there. A lot of these tools don't get used indoors, actually. I'll tend to go outside and do this kind of stuff when I can, because it's very difficult to keep this area clean if you start doing grinding work in here. In this cupboard we have an ultraviolet light and an ultraviolet turntable for curing 3D prints, which is just very simply connected by a little switch down there to activate it. There we go. And then we have a fume cupboard on the corner. The fume cupboard just vents through a carbon filter at the moment. I could vent externally if I want to, but to be honest, the smell isn't that bad, and with the door shut, the carbon filter can take care of anything if it gets too bad. Underneath you can see I've just got storage of junk at the moment. This is one of those things that Adam Savage calls a log jam. It's stuff that just gets chucked up a corner, ready to be sorted again. You can see there's some controllers there for stepper motors and things like that. They'll eventually be part of that mill, and also another 3D printer. Oh, I didn't mention there's a little granite top here for doing measuring on a flat surface if I need to. These corner brackets here, this 40x40, is for a large 3D printer that I'm putting together that will use a ruby nozzle, so I can work with nylon and some of the other stuff. There we go. can see in here we have just an ordinary kitchen extractor really, and we have an Anycubic printer. My other 3D printer that I had for the last 6 or 7 years finally died to the point where it just needs to be a new one, and I was working on it at the time. I needed to get a project finished, so I ended up having to just buy this Anycubic, and I have to say it's a very good little printer, and I'm quite tempted by the larger version of it. We also have the Photon up the corner there as well. Again, I'd be tempted by the larger version of this. Done a few upgrades on this, just nothing huge, but I've just added a little cover for the tank there, so I don't have to empty it out so frequently. And I've also got something to help with the leveling, because the leveling on these is quite awkward when you remove this. Covered in resin there, but if I remove this, it's very easy when you're trying to remove a print from this plate to knock the ball out of alignment. So this kind of thing just makes it a lot easier to keep the thing aligned without having to constantly level the bed every time you print and having filed prints. I've got a little clamp stand there that I 3D printed just to make it easy to empty resin out back into bottles and things when I need it, and all of the usual stuff like some isopropyl alcohol and things for cleaning the prints. This is a Formica surface, so it's very easy to wipe clean when I want to. It's usually about in this state, to be honest, which is a little bit sticky, but it's fine for what I'm doing. If I ever need to do anything very detailed, I'll give it a good clean with isopropyl alcohol before we go. I think that probably covers most of the things in the shed. The cabinets and things mostly contain these cabinets contain metalworking things like carbide tips and things for the mill. The smaller cabinet contains a lot of measuring tools and things like that, and the rest of the cupboards are generally either supplies or sort of more critical clean labware and things like that. You know, things that need to be kept a little bit protected from the dust, or things that are a little bit unusual for me to own. So, for example, copper sulfate over there up the corner and things like that. I tend to keep those separate because they can be quite nasty if they're not kept an eye on. Yeah, so I think that's probably all of the things that I can show at the moment, really. A bit of a umming and ahhing tour, I'm sure, but there we go. It was just a quick run around so you can see what's going on. If anybody's got any specific questions that you want to ask what I'm doing, or ask what a particular thing's for, or how I do a particular thing, just drop a comment and see what you think. Okay, have a good day.